What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Magic the Gathering Arena video. My name is Leet Largo, and today we are going to be doing some original content. um, and it's going to be looking at the upcoming set of Strixhaven. I've been hearing a lot of hype. Let's get hyped, people, about this set. Hearing a lot of hype about this set, and I've grazed over a lot of the leaks so far. And, well, not leaks, they're teasers. And I have to say, I am curious about a few cards. I think most of the cards are pretty cool, but I do have some concerns with some of the cards, and I'm going to go over some of those. But of course, some YouTube stuff. If you're new to the channel, I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you check out some of my past videos where I actually do some gameplay as opposed to talking about cards. And if you enjoy all that stuff, it would be awesome if you would hit the like button and subscribe button. Well, actually, subscribe if you're new. That's the most important part. And then leave a like, comment, all that great stuff. Now, with that aside, let's get into some Magic cards. How about that? I'll graze over these Mystical Archives at the end of the video because there's a lot of them, and I do actually like these. But first and foremost, we're going to go into one of the new card types. So this is a sorcery, which is a lesson, and I believe all the lessons are sorceries. I could be wrong. Anyway, get some of these ads out of here. I love Mythic Spoiler as a website, but man, I understand they got to make $1 here or there, but man, some of these ads. Whew. Anyway, Introduction to Prophecy is a 3-mana colorless. So this is a big thing, is colorless. This is the number one thing for me, is that these are colorless spells. Anybody who has played in any kind of a spell-driven deck knows that having a colorless spell that does something as powerful as Scry 2, then draw a card, even at sorcery speed, it's pretty good. Now, the thing is that this isn't like some back-breaking card here. Scry 2, then draw a card, I mean, it's basically like, a weaker version of Behold the Multiverse. It's the fact that it's colorless. That's the number one thing that sticks out to me, is that you could literally play this in any deck, and you don't need to worry about certain colors being untapped in order to fulfill the mana cost. Now, what I have a problem with is the archetype here, and that leads me into the next card. Kind of misarranged some of the cards. I have like a million tabs open that I'm going to go through. Leads me into my next archetype here, and that's Learn. So Guiding Voice is a sorcery, 1 white, and I put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Now, off break real quick. This is a great card. I think it's an awesome card in certain types of decks. Sorcery speed doesn't make it amazing, but it's actually pretty solid, and in a deck that I actually like to play in Historic, which is Abzan counters. So I think this is an awesome card, especially with this Learn ability. Now, Learn is a new archetype. You may reveal a lesson card you own from outside the game and put it into your hand, or discard a card to draw a card. This is busted. Hands down, this is busted. And the fact that it's going to be placed on a lot of these spells, I don't care if it's a sorcery. This is busted. And you can argue with me all you want, that's fine. This is just my opinion. You're free to have your own. We can agree to disagree. And then we can move on with our lives. I think this is busted. Remember a time when certain cards were so crazy when they first came out that you could grab a card from your sideboard and put it into your hand? Well, that's unstable. That's crazy, in my opinion. Now, we have this ability for a certain card type. Now, it all depends on how powerful these lesson cards actually are. We haven't seen the full set. Some of these lesson cards have basically been kind of meh. They're okay. But it's the fact that you can just pull whatever lesson card you need for that moment from outside the game and put it into your hand. Or you can even discard a card and draw a card. This is insane. So at the bare minimum, you can put a for this, for example, for Abzan tokens, you can put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature, ditch a land in your hand that you don't need, and draw a card. I mean, you're getting a 2-for-1, and it's a very powerful 2-for-1 at that. Now, remember, like I said in the beginning of this little topic here. Remember when spells were so groundbreaking, when you could pull a card from your sideboard and put it into your hand, like Fae of Wishes, or whatever, any other, like a Planeswalker ability, like Karn. Now you're getting it in just basic spells, and I'm sure it's a lesson card, but we don't know how powerful these lesson cards are actually going to be. So on the surface, this looks like something that's going to be exploited way too much, to a point where it's just going to be flat out annoying. Like, if you're not building around a learn deck, well, not learn, but I mean, you don't even really have to build around it. It's just, you could just have like 4 or 6 or 8 spells that are powerful enough to be in a deck, but allow you to grab whatever you need from outside the game to put it into your hand for whatever you're playing against. So I think, and we've had this happen with Wizards so much, where pulling things from, having cards outside the game that are easily accessible, or being able to pull whatever you need from outside the game and put it into your hand, it's just anti-magic. I'm sorry, it's just anti-magic. It's like my problem, the side rant real quick. It's my problem with like cards like Nexus of Fate and Alron's Epiphany. Taking extra turns. I mean, sure, the mana cost is extremely high, but we've all seen how easy it is to ramp up to these insane mana costs and then essentially take over the game and force your opponent to just not be able to play Magic for a turn or two. So, it's just not, I don't know. Interesting concept. I think it's cool, but I think there can be some issues as far as leveling the playing, keeping the playing field leveled. I guess that's the best way I can put it. So this next one is actually something that's it's actually cool. I actually really like this. This is just a card, Eager First Year. It's a 2-mana 2/2, but the archetype is Magecraft. So whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, Eager First Year gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So this is kind of like a prowess ability. But it's centered around casting or copying. So that's pretty cool. Not really sure. I just wanted to highlight the ability. There can be some obvious storm effects that could happen, whether in historic or standard. But so far, I mean, Magecraft seems pretty cool. And this is one where I can talk about as far as being potentially dangerous. This is Dragon's Guard Elite, which is a rare. It's a 2-mana 2/2 with Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then if you tap 6, you double the number of +1 counters on Dragon's Guard Elite. So this can obviously get out of control real quick. And outside of like a few kill spells, like Heartless Act is the most popular one, it's going to be hard to kind of counter some of these abilities. But Magecraft is cool. I think I'm okay with it. I don't see something, I mean, unless something ridiculous comes out. Who knows? I could have a card in here. A lot of these cards, some of these cards I may be seeing for the first time. Also, most of these cards are the second time I'm looking at them, so you'll have to bear with me. Maybe I've missed a Magecraft. That's insane, but all right, so this is a rare, but it's more on the lore side for me. So this is Confront the Past. Now this is a lesson card. So this is one of those cards you can just pull, if you have a learn ability. So this is an X and 1 black, and you can choose one. Return target Planeswalker card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, or remove twice the amount of loyalty counters from target Planeswalker and opponent controls. So don't really know how powerful this card will be. Obviously, being able to pull a Planeswalker card from your graveyard to the battlefield is always pretty good. I mean, I don't think it's going to replace Elspeth Conquers Death. That card is just much better. But the lore side is what attracts me to this card. So you can see here, this is one of the new Planeswalkers. I don't really remember. It's Professor Onyx. And in the mirror here, you can see Liliana and Gideon sacrificing himself to save Liliana during War of the Spark. So this goes to show or give the idea that Professor Onyx is actually Liliana, and she's impersonating or taking up a new identity. And you can see in the flavor text, this validates my point. quote, "Why, Gideon? Of all people, why save me?" So this is really interesting. It's going to be... I'm always interested in the lore of Magic the Gathering. I think it has one of the most expansive universes out there that could be used to maybe create some kind of entertainment content. But, of course, it has to be done right. A lot of times when you try and take a game and turn it into a series, it doesn't always hit. We've seen it in the past, though. I mean, The Witcher being the most recent one, being a success on Netflix. I've heard rumblings that they're doing something like an animated series of Magic the Gathering. Not a big fan of that. I think if you were to do something in Magic the Gathering, it needs to be serious. It needs to be serious, for Christ's sake. It needs to be serious, and I would want it to be like Game of Thrones on the level of seriousness. Maybe not as explicit as Game of Thrones, obviously, but because a lot of kids enjoy the show. But it needs to be serious to the point where like you have some like real deep and powerful, scenes and episodes. Because let's face it, there are a lot of deep and powerful moments in Magic the Gathering history. I mean, this is one of them. So we'll move on. So this is a this is a card that I just wanted to highlight. I don't know why. It's a star people on this battlefield with +1/+1 counter on it. When it dies, put its counter on target creature you control. So I like this card. I simply like it because I want to be able to use it in one of my +1 counter decks. So that was it. That was a selfless little, like, oh, I'm excited for this stupid common. Okay, I can exit that one. So we have a one of the rares here with Magecraft. So this is really, really good. It's a 4-mana 2/2, which is kind of meh, but the Magecraft is really interesting. So whenever you cast or copy instant sorcery, draw a card. So obviously this could be really good. But the 4-mana cost for a 2/2 isn't the best, but it's still worth noting. Could be good. So of course we, with something like Strixhaven, it's basically like Ravnica guild-wise, this is Witherbloom Apprentice, so I'm not going to go through all of them. I just have so many tabs open, I just don't feel like going through all of them. But this is one of the Apprentice cards, and it's basically like the Guild Mages in the Ravnica series. They all fall under a certain, color scheme, and their Magecraft reflects that. So this one is whenever you cast or copy an instant sorcery spell, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So this could be pretty good. Again, 2-mana, 2/2, we'll see. And it's also green-black, so it really depends. But so many decks are 3 colors now, especially like Sultai is really popular. You could see something that really takes advantage of this. Moving on, we're going to go through some of the legendary, or not legendary, but some of the flip cards here. So this is Torrent Sculptor / Flamethrower Sonata. So the Torrent Sculptor, and this is going to be another ability. So real quick, I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. Okay, Wizards. You don't have to create a bunch of new archetypes for cards, like abilities for cards, in every set. You just don't have to do it. It's not necessary. Because most of the time, these things become way overpowered. I'll give you an example. The Companion debacle. That was one of the most miserable times I've had in Magic when Ikoria first came out, was the Companion archetype. Now this one really irritates me. Ward 2. Whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays 2. It's already bad enough with the Azorius Flyers, and I think this... Well, I mean... This is like whenever this specific creature, so it's not awful, but I'm dead serious. This is... I think it's a little busted, and we'll have to see what the rest of the set, as far as what other cards are going to contain Ward. But I really hate these types of abilities. I think they're a little too overpowered. I mean, that means that you'll have to, if you want to cast a Heartless Act on this, you'd have to pay 4 mana. And sure, it's only 2. It's like that plays into it, man. That's essentially majority of the time taking an entire turn just to kill this creature. Because when Torrent Sculptor enters the battlefield, exile an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. Put a number of +1 counters on Torrent Sculptor equal to half that card's mana value rounded up. So this is, I think Ward is probably going to be one of the worst abilities in this set. And when I say worst, I mean worst as in like most unfun to play against. And Flamethrower Sonata, discard a card, then draw a card. It's a 2-mana sorcery. When you discard an instant or sorcery card this way, Flamethrower Sonata deals damage equal to the mana cost of the target creature or planeswalker you don't control. So, decent sorcery card here. Torrent Sculptor, well, the Ward is really what I'm concerned about. Then, of course, we have the lands. I'm really excited for this. I love these types of lands, the check lands. They had this back during the Innistrad, I think. Either Innistrad or Tarkir, I don't know. But basically, it's one of those lands where it's a dual land where you have to reveal a swamp or a forest card. Otherwise, it comes into play tapped. So, those are the lands. That's the dual lands we get in this set. Now, with this set, this was something I'm kind of surprised. They have a bunch of new command cards. So, Witherbloom Command is the first one. This is the Golgari one. You choose 2, target player mills 3 cards, then you return a land card from your graveyard to your hand, destroy target non-creature, non-land permanent with converted mana value 2 or less, so basically like Abrupt Decay. Target creature gets -3, -1 until end of turn, and target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Obviously, these command cards are very powerful. I mean, just look at the price of Kolaghan's command. So, yeah. So these cards are going to be very powerful and very sought after. So you have Silver Quill Command, which is the Orzhov colors. That's 4 mana. So target creature gets +3/+3 and gains flying until end of turn. Return target creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Target player draws a card and loses 1 life, and then target opponent sacrifices a creature. So we got Quandrix Command, which is the Simic colors, 3 mana. Return target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. Counter target artifact or enchantment spell. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. Or target player shuffles up to 3 target cards from their graveyard into their library. So this is actually really good, and it's instant speed, obviously, because it's a counter spell. So this is actually really good. I really like this one. We have Prismari Command, which is another instant, 3 mana. It's in the Izzet colors. Deals 2 damage to any target. Target player draws 2 cards and discard 2 cards. Target player creates a treasure token or destroy target artifact. And yeah, destroy target artifact, pretty relevant. Let's see. Then we got Lorehold Command, which is Boros colors. What? I didn't notice this. What in the world is this? Is that a scroll shooting lightning out of the end of it? And they're holding it like a gun? Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay, so 5 mana for an instant. This is one of the more expensive ones. Create a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain indestructible and haste until end of turn, which is insane. Lordal Command deals 3 damage to any target. That target player gains 3 life, so basically like a lightning helix. And then sack a permanent, then draw 2 cards. So this is actually a really, really good one. And so those are the command cards. I lost track. Obviously, the last one probably looks like the best one. So now we're going to get into some of the legendary creatures here. This is some of the legendary, I should say, I guess wizards or whatever. And all of them are flip cards, so they can be one side or the other. On the first one, we have Valatin, Dean of the Vein. It's a 1 mana, 1/1 menace lifelink. If a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. When you do, you may pay 2. If you do, create a 1/1 black-green pest creature token with, when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. That's one of the new, another one of these new creature archetypes is pests. They all have this ability where when it dies, you gain 1 life. Then we have the flip side, which is Lisette, Dean of the Root. 4 mana, 4/4. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 1. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. And those creatures gain trample until another turn. So that's pretty crazy. This is the Simic one. Kian, Dean of Sustenance. 3 mana, 2/2. Tap, exile the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it into your hand. Otherwise, put a study counter on it. If you pay 5, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put a +1/+1 counter on it for each different mana value among non-land cards you own in exile with study counters on them. All right, so a little convoluted there, but it's pretty good. Being able to do this, like filter through your deck, if you're mana ramping, is really good. Imbraham, Dean of Theory, 4 mana, 3/3 flying, X and double blue. Tap, exile the top X cards of your library, and put a study counter on each of them. Then you may put a card you own in exile with a study counter into your hand. That's pretty crazy. So Can you tell they're running out of ideas for names? Plarg. I mean, you might as just well turn it into a B and just call it Blarg. Old school memery right there. It's a 2-mana. It's a red legendary creature, 2 mana, 2/2. Tap, discard a card, draw a card. Really good. 5 mana, tap, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-legendary non-land card with mana value 3 or less. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Put all reveal cards at the bottom of your library in a random order. Then we have Augusta and Dean of Order, 3 mana for a 1/3. Other tapped creatures you control get +1/+0. Other untapped creatures you control get +0/+1. Whenever you attack, untap each creature you control, then tap any number of creatures you control. This is like a really neat combat trick. So, really interesting. This is actually probably one of the better ones so far for aggro decks. So, we'll move on. All right, so now we're on to what I think is just Liliana. Professor Onyx, 6 mana. This card is really good. Magecraft. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, each opponent loses, or copy, I should say. Each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So this is really good. You lose, 5 loyalty cost, +1. So if you do a +1, you lose 1 life. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. -3, each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls. And then if you -8, each opponent may discard a card. If they don't, they lose 3 life. Repeat this process 6 more times. So kind of like Torment to Hailfire. So it was really good. Like I said, pretty sure that's just Liliana in disguise or whatever. We'll move on to the next one, Kasmina, Enigma Sage. So don't understand the green portion because Kasmina, when she was shown in War of the Spark, was a blue and created wizard tokens. So you would think she would have just been a solid blue planeswalker, but no, let's throw some green in there. So 3 mana. Again, I hate these 3 mana planeswalkers. Most of them are usually broken. Each other planeswalker you control has the loyalty abilities of Kasmina, Enigma Sage. +2, you scry 1. Now +2, I mean, again, it's a 2 loyalty planeswalker, but +2, I mean, that's really good for a 3 mana planeswalker. And you scry 1, which is always good. -X, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X +1 counters on it. So basically, however many loyalty counters you take off. And then -8, search your library for an instant sorcery card that shares a color with this planeswalker. Exile that card, then shuffle. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. So pretty good. Obviously, the -8 will take a while to get to, so kind of high. But, I mean, for a 3 mana planeswalker, these 2 abilities are really good. And also giving all the abilities to other planeswalkers you control is pretty good. All right, so now we got the first or only flip planeswalker card. So, of course, it's the 2 wizards that we saw in Throne of Eldraine. Rowan, Scholar of Sparks, 3 mana. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Wonderful! +1. Rowan deals 1 damage to each opponent. If you've drawn 3 or more cards this turn, she deals 3 damage to each opponent instead. So this is, honestly, I mean, busted, but it'll be fun to play in an Izzet deck, especially in Historic. And then -4, you get an emblem whenever you cast an instant or pay, cast copy. You may pay 2. If you do copy that spell, you may choose no choice for that copy. That's insane. 5 mana. Again, instant sorcery spells cost 1 less to cast. +1. Up to 1 target creature has base power and toughness 0/2. -3. Draw 2 cards. -7. Exile up to 5 target permanents. For each permanent exiled this way, its controller creates a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. So that's pretty good. That's actually really insane. All right. Oh, I opened this twice. And then this is one of the legendary dragons. Apparently there are going to be elder dragons in this, and they appear to be new ones, I believe, unless someone checks my lore. I believe these are all new elder dragons. And this is the only one we see. So, ooh, that's the borderless art. That's actually really cool. Shadrix Silverquill. So 5 mana, 2/5, flying double strike. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may choose 2. Each mode must target a different player. Target player creates a 2/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying. Target player draws a card and loses 1 life. Target player puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature they control. So, Interesting. I like this ability here. It kind of forces you to. It kind of tries to limit how broken the card is, but in my opinion, I think it's pretty nuts. So those are the spoilers so far for Strixhaven. Again, like I said, mixed bag here for me as always. I mean, it just seems to be the trend here. Every time a new set comes out, I always have something to gripe about. Really, the main thing here is the learn ability, and that's really about it. Learn and ward. Those are the two things that I really have a problem with. As I said, come on, Wizards, you don't have to create new things every single time a set comes out. Sometimes just being boring and normal and just creating quality cards is all it really takes to make us happy. But apparently they have some other agenda, so... now, real quick, we'll go over the Mystical Archive. These are a bunch of cards that are going to be released, I believe, alongside. These are basically like the those art, like, how do you say it? Like those alternate cards you get, like they did in Kaladesh and Amonkhet. So, like mastery cards or whatever. So, and there are a bunch of like really popular cards throughout Magic the Gathering, whether it be in Modern or actually even in Standard, like God's Willing. And a lot of these cards are actually really cool as far as the artwork goes. I mean, Agonizing Remorse looks really cool. God's Willing looks really great. You know, you have Lightning Helix. Some of these are in like Latin or Spanish or some form of Asian dialect. Faithless Looting, I mean, you know, Compulsive Research, Negate. I mean, some of these look really awesome. Despark, Doomblade, Approach of the Second Sun, that looks really awesome. Tendrils of Agony. So, Stone Rain, taking it way back on that one. But yeah, so like I said, you have cards as old as Stone Rain, but then as recent as Revitalize. So, anyway, let me know what you think of the spoilers so far, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.